Welcome to, what is this, number 16? I don't know, 15, 16, something like that.
We have a very special guest today.
Very special. I'd like to introduce the Okon Bros universe to a good friend of mine and Eric's for how many years now, Greg? 20?
You know, I was thinking about that on the way over to my office. It's been like 20 years.
Can't believe that. Greg Tannor, everybody. Big shout out to Greg Tannor.
Real estate magnate?
Yeah.
Is that what you call it?
Real estate tycoon.
Mogul.
See, we've known Greg. I've known Greg since I was probably in high school, and Michael knew Greg since college.
I met Greg in college, and we were like two moths to a flame. You know, we were attracted to each other immediately. We became great friends. We had so much in common. Greg came to me. He's like, "Will you be my friend?" I said, "I would love to be your friend." And I said, "Greg, would you be my friend?" He said, "I would love to be your friend." And I got to tell you, some of the best days of my life, some of the best nights of my life, not even days.
Do you still have that friendship bracelet that I gave you with half of the heart?
I'm not wearing it now, but yeah, no, I still have that. It's a friendship chai. It's a friendship necklace.
You know, I think that's actually how we met. I said hi, and you're like, "Oh, finally, one of us around here."
There's nothing like a little Jewish humor with Greg.
And you always let me tag along, and that was always appreciated.
We had a couple.
It was kind of like I always wanted a little brother.
And you got one. You were the little brother in your house.
That's right.
And now Greg and I have been really good friends for 20 years now, and we've had a couple hiatuses, but nothing terrible. And you know, when we always reignited our friendship, it was like no time has passed. Yeah. And the minute Greg found out that the Okon Bros were doing a podcast on business and life and you know wealth and everything, he's like, "You got to get me on." So Greg, you're our official non-BLS first guest.
I'm honored.
Right? Who's Tannor?
Who's high pitch?
Who's high pitch?
So what are you doing these days? Where are you working?
All right. So I'm an executive manager, vice executive manager at Lee & Associates, which is a boutique real estate shop in the city. We have about 85 brokers here in Manhattan. I specialize in retail leasing, basically meaning everything you see at the base of a building in Manhattan through shopping centers around the country and all over the world. I try to put fashion tenants, fitness tenants, restaurants, all into different spaces so they can be successful.
So I have a loaded question. Where do you find your clients? Is it all word of mouth? Is it because you've been doing this for so many years?
You know, that's a really loaded question. I've been doing this for 18 years. So it's kind of really a lot of referral right now. I have a team that works for me. They bring in leads. But for the most part, I've built up a network of attorneys, accountants, business professionals, guys like you. I play a lot of golf, a lot of tennis, and I just really work a room and work in industry to get that repeat business. A lot of my clients that I've done a good job for, which is 100% of my clients, give me business as well. I mean, they're happy with the service I offer them. So when they have friends and other customers that are looking for retail space or even office space, they know where to call.
Greg always hustled.
Right.
When we were in college, and if Greg wanted to meet a crew of friends or you know people that he wanted to hang out with, Greg hustled, and he taught me the art of hustle. You know, and his personality takes it the entire distance.
Right.
I think Greg does the art of cold calling and knocking on a door. I mean, listen, 18 years ago when I started in this industry, it's really scary to say that we're old enough, Mike and I are old enough, where we didn't have this type of technology.
100%. 100%.
When I was starting off, I literally, and this is like a grandpa story, I got a phone book and a phone. And they're like, "Here you go, kid, make calls." And I'm like, what do I do? They're like, "Figure it out." So I figured it out. I was working on Long Island at a company called Sutton & Edwards, which was another boutique shop. And I was doing industrial warehouse leasing, which doesn't sound so beautiful or glamorous. I basically got my Timberland boots on and shit kicked all over the market. But what I realized is to become a master in one market. So Long Island is a very big island, and the industrial market over there is substantial. And back in 2001, 2002, when I started off, I didn't have a BlackBerry. I mean, I had a cell phone. I think it was a flip phone, and the charge would last for 30 minutes, and then it was dead.
Right.
I spent probably about 12, 13 hours a day in my car. And I was living in the city and driving back to Long Island to go to work. So I mastered this neighborhood in Deer Park, basically exit 51 to exit 53, and knocked on every single person's door, understood their lease expiration, how much space they're in, who their landlord is, and what they're paying in rent. And from there, I basically built my own Rolodex and kept on mailing them, calling them, and finally it would click. And I think I remember one of the best calls I made, and I'm going to leave names out because it doesn't really matter. I was driving around Deer Park and I saw a sign that said for rent by owner. So I called. Yeah, so I saw a sign that said for rent by owner. So I called them. I got back to my office. I wrote down the number. I called them. I was like, hey, are you looking to hire a broker? He's like, no, actually, I'm not. I said, well, is your building for sale? I was like, what the fuck am I talking about? Is your building for sale? What if he says yes? What am I going to do? He goes, actually, no, it's not for sale, but I'm looking for a building to buy. Do you have anything? I'm like, yeah, sure, I have something. I had nothing. I hung up the phone.
Fake it till you make it, Tanner.
I looked in the newspaper that day and I saw for rent by owner, this 40,000 square foot building. I call up the owner and I was like, hey, are you looking to sell your building? He's like, why would you think that? I said, well, because you have 2,000 square feet available. Maybe you want to sell it. He goes, actually, I do. I go, what's the number? He goes, why don't you meet me? I got back in my car, drove to Deer Park, met with the owner. I'm 22 years old. I have no clue what I'm doing. I pull up. I was like, how much you want? He goes, 1.8 million. I was like, oh, okay, that sounds great. Got back in my car. Made the call to the first guy that said he was looking to buy a building. I said, hey, I got this building for you. I told you I had something. Biggest line of bullshit that I ever had. I was just able to pull it down. He goes, okay, great. Let's go meet at the building. Well, how much is it? I said, it's 1.8 million. Sounds good to me. He goes, all right, let's go see. Get back in my car, drive to Deer Park, meet with the owner and the buyer, shake hands, go back in my car. And I sold the building within like 6 months of starting.
It's amazing.
I made a good amount of money at 22 years old. It was 6 figures. And I was like, wow, this is easy. And I just continued to just call people and build a relationship. So after I left Sutton, I came into the city where the real money is in real estate and worked for CB Richard Ellis. I was there for 7 years and went into the retail group. And again, took that same method, just started calling one market. And that market in the city I picked was Meatpacking District.
Right.
Meatpacking District back in 2006 when I came into the city to start leasing was nothing. There was still meat hanging from the hooks. Florent, a historic restaurant, was open on Gansevoort Street. There was crack whores still walking around. I saw some BLS limos driving around. Who knows? So what did I do? At 8 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the morning, I would go down to that market, walk around, start knocking on doors. I became friendly with a very good landlord down there that owned 1/3 of the market, and I started representing him. And from there, I leased out about 800,000 square feet in the Meatpacking District on retail. I did like the second WeWorks deal in New York, which
how do you like that?
That was a historic deal.
Yeah.
Chrome Hearts, Uggs, bunch of restaurants, a bunch of nightclubs. I mean, it was a lot of fun. And I think one of the most remarkable deals that I did in Meatpacking was the Tesla global flagship
Wow.
at 860 Washington, which was about 11,000 square feet, which is a remarkable project because I saw it from the ground up. And there was one tenant for that building. And I called it from the beginning of marketing to the end.
It's amazing, Greg.
So I have another question. So you said that you have people working for you. Now, do you tell your brokers, juniors, do you tell them figure it out, or
No.
do you give them tools, or like do you give them your stories? How? So you have a new kid that's working for you. What do you do to get them onboarded? How do you get them in the field?
So I never want someone to go through what I did. It was frustrating. It was exhausting. But thank God I'm smart enough to learn on my own. And it's something that I've always done as a kid, that if someone's not teaching you something, I'm going to teach it to myself and I'll figure it out. So with my juniors, to save everybody time and to make more money, I give them the fundamentals of what to do. I mean, I have a lot of agencies, meaning I represent buildings and tenants. So I put them on assignments and I teach them what to do. I love educating people, especially in this type of industry and any industry that I can teach. It's just more beneficial to them so they get a clear picture. I mean, there is something to say about throwing a phone book and a phone in someone's face and saying, go figure it out. I mean,
but that made you to who you are. So the question is, are you doing them a disservice by not kind of giving them the school of hard knocks a little bit? Because like your journey puts you where you are right now. So
it does and it doesn't. I mean, I hear what you're saying, Eric, but time is money these days, and I can't wait 6 months or a year for someone to figure it out because they might not get it.
Right.
And if they don't get it, I'm SOL.
Right.
You understand what it means, right?
You can say, you can curse. I think you already have cursed on this podcast.
Fuck off. I haven't cursed.
What would you have done with an iPhone when we were in college? You know, like what would
first started out?
Selfies.
Seriously, like how do you think that your journey would have changed if you would have had the technology back in college? Then, you know, the way, I mean, you're right. We're dinosaurs. I mean, we used to talk on AIM, Instant Messenger.
That's right. That's right.
You know, you were the first person. I want to just preface this. Greg was the first person to let me use a cell phone. I still had a beeper. All right, in college. And Greg's like, no, you got to get this new thing. It was Greg and Mitch. They're like, you got to get a cell phone.
Everybody at Nextels.
Right. And I'm like, what's, you know, like a cell phone? I have a car phone. Mom and Dad put a car phone.
You had the suitcase, didn't you?
No. It was installed into the car because we had phones. We had phones in all of our limos back then, right, when they were limousines.
Right.
And I
think that's when you were driving a Ford Explorer.
Yes. That was the only car I ever drove.
That's right.
Yeah, good memory, Greg. But you know, he let me use a cell phone. One day we were like at a bar. I'm like, I need to make a phone call. Can I use this? He's like, yeah, no problem. So he's like, Joe, I need that back. I pay like $1 a minute. Do you think that your journey would have been? You think you would have been bigger if we would have had the technology growing up? I mean, like you can't go into the past, but like, do you think that if we had the cell phones and we had the social media?
I mean, email.
Right? We didn't even have email growing up.
We had email going up. We had an AOL.
We had AOL, right. We did have AOL. Do you think that the journey would have been...
Didn't you used to get my club invites on AOL?
Yeah, all the time. Limelight.
Yeah. That's right.
Greg was always hustling.
Greg was always hustling.
He was always trying
do you think it would have been different for you? Do you feel that you would have been in a different position now if we would have had the technology that our children are growing up with now?
So it's interesting. You know, I've had millennials that work for me that are just all about their cell phone. I don't think I would be as strong on the phone, on a regular phone, like picking up a phone and making a phone call and having a social interaction and being able to take someone out to lunch, dinner, drinks, play golf, and carry a conversation. I mean, you have to be well-versed in all aspects of life and education to carry on a conversation with the CEO of a major corporation.
Right.
You know,
Words
some of the
wisdom.
Best, yeah, it really is.
You can't be a
best deals I've done.
Yeah. Right.
Some of the best deals I've done or some of the best clients I've made would turn into my friends. And it's because I hit that personal connection. And if you're tucked behind a cell phone, you don't understand what it's like to look at someone in the eye and have a personal connection. I mean, here, listen, I'm 40, almost 41 years old. I've been through a shit ton of life.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we've all lost people in our lives. I've gotten married. I've gotten divorced. I have 2 kids. So I have a lot to talk about.
Right.
I play a lot of golf. I play a lot of tennis. I've traveled around the country. I've traveled around the world. These kids today, I sound like I am my grandma.
I know.
But it's
Greg, it's the truth, man. It's the truth. Eric and I talk about this as well.
You know what happened, Greg? You know, I was always behind the scenes. And I realized, and I would watch my mom and my brother sell. And then when they're like, you know, it's time, you got to come back from behind the scenes and you have to start selling. I went out and I was amazed that my mom and my brother were able to hold conversations with people. And then I was just sitting there with my hands in my lap. I'm like, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. And then I realized I have to create a shtick. And then that's when I started talking about diet. That's when I started talking about my kids and their allergies. And just like, you know, you just
find that connection.
Right.
Personal connection is how you win business.
And that's why Greg and I became friends. It's really interesting. It was Greg, Lance, Mitch, Neil. There was Sammy there too. But we all met each other. We didn't just sit there and look at each other. There was conversation between all of us.
Not only that,
well, that's also because we didn't have distractions. I mean, listen, when I take my kids out to dinner, I have them every weekend. I say to Dylan and Jade, guys, cell phones, iPads down at dinner. There are no cell phones, no iPads allowed.
Right.
I've gone off of social media except for LinkedIn because it was a distraction. I mean, there was no reason for it. And there's no way to make a personal connection through a cell phone. And you're right, Mike, making that personal connection with people, even friendship, is a way to survive and grow in business.
100%.
Yep.
100%. And I just realized that was I just thought they were my really good friends in college. I didn't realize that we all had similar goals.
No, we actually weren't really good friends. We knew that you owned a limo company, and we were like, yes, free rides.
What do we do? Tell our listeners what we did every weekend. What was a typical weekend for Greg, Mitch, Neil, Lance, you, me, Eric was involved? What did we do every weekend?
We went to the city, went to one of the clubs that I was promoting.
I would get a fucking car, right?
A Suburban. We drive around. The best was when we had the dark tinted window Suburbans.
Excursions. They were
excursions.
They were the excursions.
It rhymes with suburban. Whatever,
Yes.
Eric. Stop being so fucking technical.
Well,
some of the best.
The excursion was twice the size of the Suburban.
All right.
That's the whole point.
So anyway, we take an excursion. We'd all jump in. We drive around club hopping.
Yep.
We'd roll down the window and be like, "Yo, bitch, you've been punked. I'm Ashton Kutcher." I think we've even told doormen at some of the best clubs in the city that Justin Timberlake was in our car.
We used to tell people we were in sync.
I think we did.
And people, we would tell people we were filming a reality show.
That was, I think, even before reality was big. I think that's when
Yeah.
like, the real
I was
world
like, we have a camera crew following us.
That was the only reality show was Real World.
Right.
On MTV.
Right.
That's right.
We were all cast members of it or something. Real World Long Island.
Listen,
we had a good
but
time.
listen, you guys had hustle.
Yes.
To even come out with that, you guys, when going out and hooking up and making connections, you guys made it your job.
100%.
And that just carried over into your professional world.
You didn't always
good practice.
You didn't always want to do this though, Greg, right? You liked real estate. You loved real estate, but I don't remember that was being your specific career.
It was literally an accident how I got into this
So
business.
what did you want to be when we were in college together? I mean, I knew we were going to be in the transportation.
An astronaut. I wanted to be an astronaut.
Want to be an astronaut?
And a baseball player.
And a baseball player and a professional football. No, I always wanted to do something that made me money and quickly. I mean, I never wanted to work for anyone, and I could never really work for anyone. I also don't have the attention span to sit behind a desk.
Right.
I mean, I'm literally sitting here and fidgeting constantly with like a pen in my hand. I should get one of those fidget spinners that my kids play with all the time, or at least did until, squishies came out. Anyway, I was home one weekend or one day during the week, and my dad's office was in the house. He owns real estate by default from his father, and he had no clue what he was doing with it. And a broker called. I picked up the phone, his office line. I go, "Hi, what do you want?" And he's like, "Who's this?" I go, "It's Greg Tannor." "Who's this?" He goes, "It's Steven Schwartz." I was like, "Okay, great. What do you want?"
I know Steven Schwartz.
What's that?
I know Steven Schwartz.
There's 100,000.
I know the Steven Schwartz in real estate. I mean, we were always looking for real estate, so I would always.
I think I helped you guys out a couple of times, like Vegas or in here.
Absolutely.
Anyway, Steven's on the phone and he's like, "Is your dad there?" I was like, "You can talk to me." I always knew the properties my dad owned because even when I was younger and I got a car at 17, my dad would hire me because I owned a snow removal company when I started at 13 because I was always hustling. And he said, go manage my properties, go shovel the snow, remove it, blah, blah, blah. So I knew every single property and I was always interested in it, just never knew what I wanted to do with real estate. So he goes, "I want to talk to you about McGinnis Boulevard." I'm like, "Okay, great. What do you want to talk about?" He goes, "Well, is it available?" I said, "Yeah, sure." He goes, "How old are you?" I said, "I don't know, 19." I did know, but I wanted to see what his feeling was. I was just feeling him out on the phone. He goes, "I want you to come in and intern for me." I go, "You never even met me." He goes, "I don't need to. I can hear your personality on the phone." Right. And I was schmoozing with him, blah, blah, blah. So I went in the next day and I got an internship and I was driving all over the boroughs, the Bronx, looking for sites for 7-Eleven and GNC. I think I closed one deal as an intern and then progressed from there. But that's how I fell into real estate. I never really knew what I wanted to do.
It's amazing.
I mean, do you really know what you want to do in college? You just want to make money. I mean, we're Jewish kids from Long Island. What else do we want to do?
Were there any books that you read? Any podcasts? Well, they weren't really podcasts.
Podcasts? I mean, dude, this is 20 years ago.
Who was influential to you?
Right. Who influenced you? Was it Jordan Belfort? Was it, I see the Wolf of Wall Street on your back wall.
Yeah, I mean, money influenced me. It sounds like greed and everything. And listen, they always said that money doesn't make you happy. They're right. It makes life easier, though.
Right.
Correct.
Sure. Right.
So who influenced me? My grandfather did. He owned a lumber company in Brooklyn, and he worked until he passed away at 93 years old. That was about like 13, 14 years ago.
Right. We went to that Shiva call. We came to your house for that.
You did. I think I still have some of the cookies you bought frozen in the freezer, but I can't eat cookies anymore. Yeah, I think he was probably one of the biggest influencers in my life. I mean, most people say like, oh, this celebrity, this person in business, Jeff Bezos, whoever it is. It was my grandfather to me. I mean, I saw him. I used to go to his lumber yard. I used to see him crack the phone and curse at people. Where the fuck are my trucks? This lumber delivery's late. I mean, he sat in the pit. He was the owner of the company from 1907.
It's amazing.
And he sat in a bullpen with all of his employees that co-called, and he sat there as the CEO of the company and got on the phone with everybody else.
It's amazing.
He wore a suit and tie every day, but he was a real person. And no matter how much money he made, he still felt like a person that doesn't deserve a corner office.
Right.
Right.
And I think that's good. A lot of formats right now with office space just go into an open bullpen so that everybody's on the same equal playing field. I like to go out in my bullpen and make calls with everyone.
Right. What do you want for your children? Do you want your children to follow in your steps? Do you want them to have careers in real estate? How old are your kids now?
Dylan's 9, Jade's 6. Dylan's in basketball and DJing. His DJ name is DJ Kit Kat. Big shout out to him. I bought him turntables at 7 years old, and the kid just crushes it.
That's awesome. It's amazing.
Awesome. I'm happy that he's into music. I mean, again, not going with like a white Jewish boy from Long Island. He is not going to be a billionaire sports player. We all know this. He's going to make more money being in music.
He's going to own the team. He's not going to be playing the sport.
That's a little bit far-fetched.
You never know.
You never know.
Maybe he'll be a manager. I don't know. He loves basketball. He loves DJing. He loves music, and he loves. Sorry, must be some issue in the city. For once,
you're definitely podcasting live from New York right now.
Live from New York. It's Monday morning.
And what about Jade? Do you want Jade to have a career?
Yeah, I think it's important for women to have a career. I mean, especially after the Me Too movement, women want equal rights. Why wouldn't you want the same rights for your daughter being 100%. An executive or a CEO of a company, being intelligent and smart? So for both kids, I want, my parents, the way I grew up was, I want you to do whatever makes you happy. I was a huge tennis player growing up. I played tennis since I was 3. I was ranked 26th in the country under 8.
So where do you want Jade? Where do you want your daughter? And we both have daughters around the same age. Kayla just turned 7 this past weekend. Where do you see your daughter? I mean, where do you want Jade? I mean, you want your son to be the next Deadmau5, right? The next Marshmallow.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I want Jade to do this, whatever she wants to do, whatever makes her happy. As I was saying before, I think before we got cut off, I was a big tennis player.
Do you believe in the law of attraction? And do you believe in like Tony Robbins and self-help and self-development and stuff like that? Or are you just more cynical?
It's a good question. I know if I disagree with Tony Robbins, Mike will jump through the phone and
No, not at all. A lot of people.
I believe definitely in self-help. I don't think I'm completely cynical in that aspect. I mean, I think it takes whatever it takes for each individual to succeed in life. I mean, there's no right or wrong answer here. It's whatever works for you.
And look, here you have someone here that didn't go through the Anthony Robbins program. You have someone here that didn't, read The Secret.
But
right?
like the thing is, like, did he even need to? Because it seems like,
he had drive to do it.
But
here's the thing, Eric. I think you're either born with it or you're not.
100%.
It's not a skill that you can teach. You can't teach someone how to make a connection with someone and to close deals with them. They can try to learn, but you can't teach them.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like white man can't jump. Are you listening to me or do you hear me? It's the same thing, right? So yeah, I'm listening, but I don't hear you. I'm teaching you, but you're not learning.
Right.
That's very profound, Greg. I didn't think you were that smart. I'm very impressed.
I surprise myself sometimes.
Because, I'm
that kid that looks really dumb, but actually there's a brain behind him. It's scary.
But that's your shtick.
That is my thing. Like, people look at him and like, oh, he's 6'3", he's heavy.
Oh man. You're 6'3", you're lumbering.
What's that?
You're a lumberjack.
Gentle giant.
You're a gentle giant.
He's a lumberjack.
Gentle giant.
Listen, you're a flirt. You cut to the core. You don't fuck with people.
But when you go out and sell, are you selling? Are you like, I'm the best real estate agent on the planet? Or are you talking about?
So most people would is the difference between me and other people in my industry, or 90% of my office, is I don't go and pitch like buildings. It's called the space chucker. I pitch ideas and I pitch concepts. I also pitch my experience. Listen, I'll give you all the experience you want, but you're either going to hire me or not. I cut through the shit. I have a 30-minute meeting with someone, and I can tell probably within the first 90 seconds if we're going to connect or not. Otherwise, thanks for your time. I'm out. Because I don't want to work with you as much as you don't want to work with me. I'm not going to try. It's kind of like dating, right? Mm-hmm. Like, you try and call this girl, like, hey, you want to go out with me? And she says no. She says no. She says no. She finally says yes. Took her 3 or 4 times to say yes. You take her out, and she's like, wow, I should have gone out with you. It's kind of like the same thing with business, right? You're going to get the phone slammed in your face. You're going to get the door slammed in your face. But don't ever stop doing that until you make that connection. Once the connection is made, you'll either know if it's going to go anyplace or not. I mean, listen, I've said no to people in terms of working. Like, this just doesn't make sense for me. This isn't going to work for me. Right. It's not you, it's me.
Truer words could not have been spoken. It really is. It's about the personality. It's about being street smart. Were you good in school? I mean, were you good in, did you get good grades?
I don't even know how to read, dude. Yeah, I got good grades. Like, I was a B+ student.
Like, why'd you even go to school?
I don't really know. I honestly don't know.
We talk about that a lot, Greg.
I would have saved my parents so much money, and I would have been, another 4 or 5 years ahead of myself now. I don't really think, and this is going to sound terrible to any parent that's out there that has a young child, I don't know how important school is these days.
Oh my God. Awesome. That's all we talk about. That was the first 3 podcasts we talk about education. What our kids are going through in Common Core today, it's just awful. They're not teaching the kids about life.
No, they're not. They're teaching them. It's just like they're making them into robots. I mean, my kids go to Jericho schools and they're fucking robots. But thankfully, my son, Dylan, he is very street smart. He's very inquisitive. He's extremely creative. So he really reminds me, I mean, like, he's trying to sell things. He tries to sell me, been like, Dad, if I do this, this, and this, will you buy me this? I'm like, yeah, but you have to do these things. He's like, yeah, no problem. I got this. And I mean, he negotiates with me all the time, and I love it. And I see him in the mall. So I bought him the new cell phone, the iPhone 11. Mm-hmm. What fucking 9-year-old has an iPhone 11? Yeah, one from Long Island. So he wanted to get a case for it. I was like, okay, great. Go talk to these people and negotiate a deal. He goes, okay, no problem. So he goes up to this guy in Roosevelt Field Mall, and he goes, I need a cell phone case for my cell phone for the iPhone 11. He's like, okay, great. Which one do you want? He goes, how much is this one? Dylan says this to the guy. He goes, $25. And I'm just standing behind Dylan. He's standing there with his sister. He goes, $25. The guy down the hall is selling them for $15. Why would I buy it from you? Mm-hmm. Give me a better price and I'll buy it right now. And this is a 9-year-old talking. I mean, like, I'm looking at this kid and I'm seeing myself. And I'm like, holy shit, what have I done?
Right.
Or Thank God. What have I done? So the guy goes, I can't sell it to you less than $25. It cost me $25 to buy, and I'll sell it to you for $25. Dylan turns to him and goes, your business doesn't make any sense. The guy goes, why? He goes, you're not making any money. If you buy it for $25 and you sell it for $25, you're out of business. And he goes, I'm out. I literally thought I was on an episode of Shark Tank. He watches it every single night.
Right.
It's
And I think
amazing.
he's just learning business. So what is the point of school? He's learning everything. I'll give him the option. Dylan, you want to go to college? You can go to college. Happy if you want to. Or if you want the money I was going to spend on college and start a business, do that. I wish my parents gave me that option.
Yep.
Right. Absolutely.
It's so
Absolutely.
important back in the day, get a degree. But today, it's all about who you know. I want
I want to
could be
mention,
down an Ivy League student in a job.
I don't remember, not because I was in a drunken daze or anything. I don't remember anything from college except hanging out with my friends.
Right.
I don't remember the classes I took. I don't remember the teachers' names. I remember my elementary school teachers' names. I remember.
Well, beyond the fundamentals, beyond reading, writing, and doing a little bit of math, what else do you need?
What major post? We're CW post boys, by the way.
Partying? Promoting?
For
Making
real,
money?
what was it? Was it PR? Was it publicity?
Yeah, I think it was just communications.
Communication, so it was a waste.
I mean, it is a waste. I mean, right, fundamentals. You have to know how to read. You have to know how to write.
Right.
I can't spell. Thank God for autocorrect.
Right.
I can't even get close to the word to spell it right. I'm like the TE. You need math. My son comes home from school and he asked me the question. He's like, what's more important, English or math? And I said, math 1000% is the most important subject that you'll ever need.
Math was the most important thing.
Yeah, math is just like an algorithm of life, right? It's everything that you need to be successful. You need to understand numbers.
Education, like with Siri today, like my daughter, she has trouble talking, and
How old is your daughter
she's
now?
9.
Wow.
She's 9, and she has conversations via text message because she talks into it. And then she'll say, what did this person just say? And like, you can literally go on your iPhone and find out any information you need about anything. And then they're making kids remember things in school.
Yeah, it's kind of a double-edged sword. It's a little weird. I mean, you do need fundamentals of history. I mean, again, I'm going to go back to saying that you have to make personal connections and you have to be well-versed in life and about everything. Like, I walk into a CEO's office, I don't say a word for 30 to 60 seconds. It's uncomfortable to do. I look at every single thing in their office and try to make that personal connection. Am I seeing someone on a golf course? Am I seeing someone in Bermuda or wherever, traveling? Family, boats, cars, watches, whatever it is, I'm going to find that little Achilles heel and connect with them. So, I disagree because you do have to remember certain things, especially history. I loved history, and I think history still plays a huge part of life right now. I mean, like, you want to remember things from back in the day. Where was everybody at 9/11? That's history. The kids need to learn these fundamental times in life so that we can all grow together and have a better ecosystem for the most part.
Are you going to force your kids to go to college?
I think I said that before. I'm going to tell them you have a choice. You can either take the money for college and start a business or go to work, or you can go to college. It's going to be up to you. I'm not going to force it. My parents growing up, I think I said this before, I was a tennis player growing up, but the most important thing my father always said to me, he goes, when you're not having fun anymore, you don't have to do it. I'm not one of those, soccer dads where it's like, you got to do this, go fucking play, blah, blah, blah. I'm not like that. I want kids to have an easy life, a happy life. Life is way too short. We all know that. And they should be doing things that make them feel good and make them happy. So why force them into anything that they don't want to do? I always say it. I mean, listen, I have an ex-wife that I have to deal with. And, if Dylan doesn't want to play soccer anymore, he doesn't have to. Well, I forced him when he hates it. He's going to be chasing butterflies. I hated soccer. It's too much running. Who wants to run that much? It's like, yo, can I put a seat down in the middle of center field?
Yeah, no.
It's funny to see these Long Island dads, and I consider Greg a Long Island dad.
No, do not say that. I am so far from Long Island.
Finish, bro. You didn't let me finish, bro. The idea is that, again, that's why we connected, because you have these dads who are pushing their kids. Like Alex is 11 years old now, and these kids are in travel baseball, right? Mm-hmm. And they're absolutely miserable.
I'm sure some kids are happy.
Some kids are happy, but they're pushing and they're pushing and they're pushing. See these kids unhappy, and it's so funny how Greg is allowing his kid to make the choice that they want to make. It's not what the parents want to make. We gave our children a smorgasbord. We said, okay, Kayla, this is dance, this is tennis, this is acting. You do what you want and take what you like. The same thing with Alex. This is tennis, this is acting, this is art, this is golf. You take what you like and run with it. And, we're not forcing him to do any of it.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I heard everything that you were saying about the travel baseball.
Yeah.
Right.
And the idea of that pushing your kid and forcing them to do something that they may not want to do is just going to create, resentment.
You know what
in that child.
I always say if my son was born first, my wife and I would have been the cockiest parents on the face of the planet, but my daughter was born first, and we got our asses kicked with her. I got our asses absolutely kicked.
Girls are tough.
Yeah, but listen, she's learning disabled, and she was born globally apraxic, and the point that I'm trying to make is everybody has expectations, and everybody has plans, but you can't throw in the towel when what you thought was going to happen doesn't. Mm-hmm. And you just kind of have to be, you have to be able to change gears when you're raising a child, because I thought that I was going to have two boys and it was going to just be like Michael and I growing up, but that was not obviously very naive to think that way.
Greg, I just got the video of Dylan DJing. Can we put that on the podcast?
Yeah, sure.
Is that okay?
We're talking about that.
Yep.
Some guy skipped in front of me. Can't believe I made it on my feet. And I don't even got the energy to smile for a selfie. And I know that I should go home, but I'm still standing here, so I guess one more for the road. I wanna raise a toast, so this one's for the sparklers. Dudes wearing shades in the darkness. Hot dog to the DJ.
That's amazing, because watching him play,
he's got passion for it.
He's got passion, and you're
see the rhythm in his body too. It's awesome.
You're nurturing that.
Yeah, no, I'm giving him all the tools that he wants, but again, as long as he's having fun with it, he'll do it. And he's practicing. He practices every day after school, after basketball practice. He goes into his room, puts his headphones on, and just spins out. And he just loves it. He loves music, and it's great.
That's amazing. You have a lot to be proud of. That's really 100%. Cool.
It's interesting. I'm going to take it to some place that you used to go with me. I now know why Dylan's connected to music. I went to see a couple of years ago a medium, something that you love, Mike and Eric. And I think I told you about this, and I get chills talking about it. The reason why Dylan loves music so much. So the medium told me that Dylan's named after my grandfather. His name is Michael. That's not Michael, but that's Dylan. But his Hebrew name is my grandfather. Anyway, technical. So the medium said, goes, your son loves music. I said, yeah, ever since he was born, he'd always like be rocking to the beat. He goes, that's the way your grandfather, because your grandfather watches over your son, because my son had issues growing up, and when he was born, he had an eating disorder, blah, blah, blah. He goes, he's fine now, but his connection with your grandfather is music. And I think that's one of the reasons why Dylan just takes music to a whole different level.
Absolutely, 100%. And your grandfather's the one that's guiding him to this career. If that's going to be his career, it could be a passion for now.
It could be a hobby, passion, whatever.
What'd you say?
Yeah, hobby,
passion. Right. He could become the next Steve Aoki. You don't know.
He's not Asian.
Well, listen, Greg. Get his own YouTube channel.
With crazy people out there, I pulled it. I had one for him. I had an Instagram for him, but there's just so much shit out there, and he doesn't need that now. He's 9. When he's older, fine.
Right.
I'm just saying, you look at EvanTube. I'm sure they watch EvanTube on YouTube and stuff like that, right?
They deleted YouTubes from their phones and iPads about a year ago when that freak was on there telling kids to do stupid shit.
That was baloney.
It was news.
I know it was baloney, but it scared my kids, and my son actually took it upon himself to delete it from his phone and his sister's iPad.
Right.
Momo?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was, wasn't it?
It was us.
You found this out. You can watch the Okon Bros podcast. You want to kill yourself after this. So what's the future? Where do you want to go with your career? How big do you want to go? You're a partner in a firm now.
What's your 5-year plan?
Let's start with a 5-year plan. Like what do you want to do?
I can never look at a 5-year plan. I can look at a 5-day plan. I don't really like to look into the future that much. Every day is something different for me. It's funny. My girlfriend, who I've been with for over a year, she goes, "What's your day like today? What's your day like tomorrow?" I'm like, "Pumpkin, I'm really not sure. Whatever happens, happens." I have set meetings here and there, scheduled meetings, but throughout the day, it's kind of like the phone rings, there's another opportunity. I make a call, there's another opportunity. So 5-year plan is kind of like bullshit these days. It's really look at this week and accomplish this week. Worry about next week when it gets here.
Sage advice.
I mean, where do you want to be when you're okay? So where do you want to be when you're 60? Like
on the beach in Boca.
Are you gonna be one of those guys?
No, yeah, really tan and have my golf game, eat dinner at 4:30.
I'm gonna spit when you eat.
Right. All over your face. I'm gonna go back to the Rascal House.
I'm working on this deal, Mike. It's great. Oh, the lobster comes flying in my eye.
What the funny thing is, Greg? Like, Michael and I are such big proponents of game planning. Like, we know what building we want to buy in 5 years. We know that we want to.
How can you do that when you don't even know if the building's going to be for sale in 5 years? What if it comes available right now?
I'm not saying the building, but I'm just saying we know the direction that we want to go in because we know
goals are very important to us.
Right.
No, I understand that, and everybody should make goals in a 5-year plan.
I understand the work week. We get it 100% that you got to take it day by day. But do you feel that having a goal of something,
do you want to buy a bigger house? Like what's your, I know I want to buy a bigger house. So I'm always working towards that goal, or I want to go and buy a vacation home, or whatever it is that I want to go and do. That's a goal, or that's just what I'm game planning towards. Do you have
an ultimate goal? Is it to be retired? And
I don't think I'll ever retire. My ADD is way too bad that what am I going to do? Sit around and wait till I die? I can't retire. It's not in my blood. It's not in my DNA. My grandfather died at 93. He was working every single day of his life.
Same thing with our dad. Same with our dad. He worked till the day he died.
I remember your dad. I remember the times that we had in Vegas when he'd be sitting there with his big cigar and at the craps table, and we'd just be laughing.
Yes.
Same with your mom too. Send her my best, by the way.
Thank you. We will. She was so excited that you were coming on today.
I always felt like family when I was with the whole Okon family.
We used to spend a lot of time in Vegas together, all of us. We would go there.
Drinking yardsticks down the strip.
Carnival Court.
Club Utopia.
Carnival
Court.
Carnival Court and Club Utopia. Eric lost his glass.
Stoli with Diet Coke because we're always on a diet.
Vanilla Stoli, Diet Coke on the strip in Vegas.
Those were the days, man. No cameras, no cell phones,
no social media.
No social media. We all got dressed. We'll meet in room, 2335.
These were some of the best nights of my life.
100%.
I took you to your first club.
Yes, you did.
Did you really?
I was 16.
MGM.
Was that light? Was that light?
MGM.
At Studio 54.
Yes.
I wanted to take you to 54, and you never wanted to go with me. You wanted to wait until
because
Greg.
I was 16 years old.
Right.
I was 16 years old.
Some of the best.
I think you had a very good night that night.
I did have a very good night that night.
Yeah.
I think I was drinking. I wasn't drinking vanilla Stoli and Diet Cokes. I was drinking White Russians.
Yes, you were. I think we saw.
And then we went to Club Utopia, and you lost your glasses.
Yep.
He started raving, and we had two glow sticks in his fingers.
Yeah.
Figure eights, baby.
Yes, and he knocked his glasses off, and he couldn't find them, and it just didn't matter.
He didn't need to see.
We walked back to Harrah's that night.
That was a long walk.
It was a long walk, but man, I think we did 3-card money with a homeless guy. I think
Neil was with us, but
Neil,
I think he
Scott,
ended up like, I have to go to the gym.
I think Mitch was there. You were there. Oh no, Mitch.
Mitch wasn't there. It was me, you, and Neil and Eric.
Yes.
That was it.
Yeah. I think Andrew showed up later in the trip or something.
Lieberman?
I think so.
Nah, I don't think he would.
That was another trip, maybe.
Were you guys staying at the Luxor?
No, that was another.
We were staying there.
That was a different trip, I think.
No, that was the Millennial.
That was yeah.
When the world was going to end, Y2K.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Guess what? Didn't end.
Yeah, we're still here.
Ended that night though.
Yes.
It was funny. That was some. I still think about those times. And you look back at the pictures that we, snapped in the middle of the night.
Remember that little square camera that we had?
We had a little Canon camera.
Silver, it was a silver camera.
It was the size of your thumb.
It was like that big, and we would fit in our pocket because we didn't have cell phones.
That's right. We did have cell phones.
We all had full heads of hair.
Yeah, we did. All I remember is Eric dancing in a cage at Studio. He was so sweaty. Why are you so sweaty?
This little 16-year-old Jewish boy with a White Russian in his hand drinking.
Used to call me baby
we
fat.
Gave the bouncer like $100.
Is that what they used to call you, baby fat?
Who knows?
Yeah. That was. I watch.
Never allowed to go to Vegas until she's like 50.
But is there going to be a karma thing? Like, because we had so much fun there. We were,
But I think it's just different times now. It's just
I don't know,
different all over the place.
The kids. I mean, Greg, you know a lot of millennials. Do they even go to Vegas?
Why would I know a lot of millennials?
I don't know, because
they work for you or something?
They work for you?
Make me sound like a pedophile. I don't know. Oh yeah, hold on, bro. Yo, what's up, millennial? I don't know a lot of millennials. I mean, the guys that work for me are 30, so I guess that's millennial, and like 35, 36.
Yeah.
Yeah, they go to Vegas, but they go to Vegas for a different reason now. Like EDC is a big thing.
That was just past our prime.
Yeah, thank God. I wouldn't want to live out in like the desert for 3 days. Coachella.
No, it sounds like honestly, like I know one of Alex's friends' dads is really into those festivals, and he wants to go with me, and he wants to take me in the worst way.
You should go.
I would love to go.
You should go,
but it just I
You shouldn't go. You should not go.
Why? You think Sharon would kill me?
I think Sharon will kill you.
Yeah,
Sharon would kill you.
Yeah.
So I think
this was I gotta say, Greg, this was so much fun. This is like you got to come into the studio at some point. I don't know how often you get to
see that chair with a microphone. I'll only come in if your mother comes in with me.
Done.
We were going to bring Neil.
Let's see her.
We were going to bring Neil.
Oh! Never come back from Miami.
Yeah, but we would love to have you here with my mom.
Yeah.
That would be awesome. And thanks, Greg.
Did you like this, Greg? You had fun? Your first
Yeah, I had a great time. I'm glad that we did it when we did at 8:30 before the day starts to get away from me. It's my 5-year plan. Who knows? I didn't budget this into that.
I'm going to miss my 5-year plan by 9:30.
You got to constantly know where you're going because it seems like you're happy where you are, but where do you want to go, bro? You got to think about it.
No, I mean, I know where I want to go. It's making logical expectations of where life should take you. That's all.
Right.
Again, you never know what's going to happen tomorrow. So I live every day like it's my last. That's it.
That's great.
Yeah.
Greg, thanks for coming on, man. That was so much fun.
Yeah, my pleasure. All right, people are knocking at my door. I got to run.
Later, Greg.
Later, Greg. Thanks.
Peace.
Peace. And that wraps up an Okon podcast with our very good friend Greg Tannor. That was amazing. It really was. But that was a great podcast and a lot of great insight for someone with an amazing personality and someone who built his career from the ground up. That started with cold calling.
Very interesting.
Very inspirational. And I'm really proud of him. I really am. You know, Greg had a lot of ups and he had a lot of downs, and he surmounted all of those downs.
Yep.
And yeah, thanks a lot, Greg. That was fun, man.
Thanks, Greg. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.